How's it going, everybody? Another week. I can't believe weeks go on, days go so quickly, years go so quickly. But every single person in this nation, in this world, needs encouragement. And they need to be encouraged in all areas of their life, in their spiritual life, in their mental life, in their family life, in their career, in their finances. They need to be encouraged in their social giving back to this world and to this community. I just ask all of you in our city, Syracuse, New York, we had two police officers get shot and killed. And actually, it hasn't happened for 30 years, over 30 years, that where there's been a police officer shot in our city. And we are in the eighth poorest city in the United States of America. So know that right now in America, across the world, people are going to need to be trained to encourage, trained to forgive, trained to challenge others to stand up for what's right. And we have a great guest that I think can give us perspective on how we can do better at encouraging the world, do better at making a difference, and actually making extreme decisions to better our life. And I think that's what we all need to do. When there's extreme hate, we need extreme love. When there's extreme selfishness, we need extreme generosity. And this guest it's going to be a captivating episode today on Encouragement Conquers All, because we have an unbelievable gift. This guest is Luke Tyburski. He joins us as a former professional footballer turned endurance adventurer. He's going to share about that, and a high performance mindset coach. Luke's journey from the football pitch to tackling some of the world's toughest endurance challenges is nothing short of inspiring. After experiencing a career-ending injury and struggling with his own mental health personally, Luke embarked on a quest to push his mind and body to the limits, taking on a monumental feat such as running down Mount Everest. I mean, we've never had a guest that's run down Mount Everest. So, I mean, this is going to be good, I think. And completing a world first 2,000 kilometer ultimate triathlon. Through these experiences, Luke has not only discovered his own resilience, but also has gained the valuable insight into helping others unleash their full potential. As a high performance mindset coach, Luke works with individuals, teams, and organizations, sharing his wisdom and tools to help them overcome obstacles, get out of their own way, and live the life they've always dreamed of. With a compelling personal story that has captivated audiences across the globe, Luke is also a sought after keynote speaker and author of books on creating high performance mindset, including his autobiography, Chasing Extreme. Let's join together with Luke in his extraordinary journey, explaining the lessons he's learned from extreme endurance challenges, his coaching philosophy, and how he empowers runners and people all across the world to achieve their goals. Luke, come on, let's join. Man, you got some good stuff here. I don't know who wrote this down for you, but let me tell you something. I'll tell you what, I think I put it together for you, but I'll tell you what, this is pretty good. Unbelievable stuff, Luke.
I need to pay you for writing all that. I'm excited to hear what this guy has to say.
Yeah, that's it. Everybody comes on because we really look, I'm all about encouragement. I don't believe you can help anybody without believing them and seeing greatness in them. And you sharing here, there was a time in your life, where you didn't see greatness. And I feel that as I shared today at one of the churches that I coach basketball at, there's going to be a candlelight service tonight for two police officers, first time in 30 years that were shot and killed. And right now, I mean, I don't know if I know you're from you live in the UK now, correct? I don't know if you're seeing.
I grew up in Australia.
Grew up in Australia. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you're seeing that in your part of the world, but I think people need your message and what we're talking about today more than ever. What are your thoughts and share about your transformation?
Yeah, like you only have to turn on the news for a couple of days, and there's tragedies all over the world. And I think you're right. Is that social interaction, that social encouragement, is something that's needed now, like more than ever. I think it's probably been said every year, but it really is coming together in this day and age where we can encourage one another, even if we don't know the person, but simply as a collective human species, so to speak. So I think it's really important to look at that element of how we all can encourage one another, connect with one another, and then also help each other out when we're really struggling.
Yeah, and when you were struggling, like, what was you had that injury and you went through your mental health battle. Like, what snapped for you to say, look, I got to snap out of this? And what are some things that happen? Maybe if you're comfortable. I think for me, encouragement is about being real. I don't think you can encourage anybody if you're not authentic. So when I have guests who come from all different backgrounds and different ways, and they share their story, it inspires our listeners.
Yeah, like there's a whole long story, but I'll try and condense it a
Yeah.
little bit to be able to give you context. So yeah, I used to be a professional soccer player, bounced around the world playing that. And then I retired just from multiple injuries. I had 3 surgeries in 11 months when I was at the most injured I'd been. And I retired because I just knew I couldn't do it anymore. So what most people will say, I had this revelation. I wanted to do something different with my life. I realized, I had a different purpose. I didn't. It went real dark before there was light. And that light came from the time I retired from soccer. It didn't come for another 6 years,
Wow.
right? So there is no, the clouds parted and I was like, right, this is it. This is what I want to do. It was dark for 6 years and I had a loss of identity because that's all I ever wanted to do. Ever since I was 4 or 5 years of age, I wanted to be a soccer player. And then when I retired, I was a bit like, who am I? What am I going to do? How am I going to live my life? How am I going to make a living? Because I wasn't playing in like the English Premiership. I was playing in the lower leagues, just making what I would deem as normal sort of money. And I was completely lost. So I did something that I thought that made sense at the time. I would literally and figuratively run away from the fact that I was so lost. And I started signing up, creating and doing these ultra endurance running challenges and triathlon challenges because I was so lost. I had no identity and I had no idea what I wanted to do. And at the same time, I started to battle with depression. And I didn't quite understand it. Now we're talking 2011, 2012. That mental health conversation in society wasn't really happening like it was today, like it is today. So I was lost. I wasn't really sure how I felt. And there was no way I was going to speak up about having these depressive thoughts to anyone because I was still trying to figure it out. So I went on this big journey. I called myself an endurance adventurer. And the whole tagline was I was going to do some of the world's craziest challenges. And I was going to speak on stages. I was going to write books about them, have documentaries made, write magazine articles, and have brands sponsor me to travel all around the world to do these epic challenges to inspire people to get out of their comfort zone and live their best life. That was my new job title that I just created. I'd never run more than 6 miles in one go by the time I retired from soccer, but I was going to do this big thing. And the first ever running race I signed up to, the first challenge that I did was a race in the Sahara Desert called the Marathon des Sables, where you run the equivalent of 6 marathons in 7 days through the middle of the Southern Sahara in Morocco, carrying everything you need for the entire week in your backpack, or your food, or your clothes, everything. You get ration water, you sleep in like
I
a
don't think you're
two-sided
run. I
tent.
don't think you're gonna run very far. I think you're walking.
Exactly. So my transition from soccer to big ultra endurance athlete was not of this epiphany, was not of this moving into the light. It was running away into the darkness. And that's when my ultra endurance challenge started in the middle of the Sahara Desert.
And so, what started to happen? You're going through depression during that time. I'm sure you're running from that. You're in this darkness. Would you say you're a person of faith? Did faith help you?
I'm not a person of faith. I respect that, but it was more of my own. I was lost and I knew I was lost, but I wasn't ready to stop and look at my pain. I wasn't ready to confront my pain. So year after year, I hid my pain from everyone, family, friends, my partner at the time. And I kept doing more extreme things because the pain that was behind me that I was running from kept getting worse the more and more I ran away from it. So to almost like extinguish that pain that I was running away from, I had to put myself into more pain and doing big, crazy challenges. So that's how I was able to move forward. I was chasing that next extreme.
And so as you kept doing this, what were some of the truths? You know, I believe encouragement is truth. You know what I mean? Like what encourages us most is when we find truth, and you say the darkness to the light. So like what were some of the like light bulbs that came off during that 6 year period that struck you like, dang, like I need to deal with this? Because I'm sure now you're a person that's talking about all these things with everybody, you know, and you found out that there's freedom when we have real conversation and relationship.
Being vulnerable is a superpower no one can take from you.
And what
That
do
is
you
a
mean by
quote I've said.
everybody means vulnerability in a different way? What's your definition of vulnerability?
Being open, honest, and true to yourself about yourself every single moment of the day. So I've said that quote to myself countless times. I've said it to on stages all over the world to clients. I've wrote it as a quote in a book that I've signed it for people as well. But vulnerability is a true superpower that no one can take from you because you choose to be vulnerable. You choose to be open, honest with yourself first, and then share that with others. And that is always in your control. And what I have found is I didn't want to open up about my mental health because I thought I was going to be a burden on my family and friends. I thought they wouldn't understand. I thought they would look down on me. I thought society would look down on me. It was when I was vulnerable and opened up about what I was going through, the love I got from family, friends, general society, and the support I got and the care I received blew me away. I was like, wow, you're telling me I didn't need to run away from this pain. All I had to do was stop and be open and honest with myself and say, hey, I feel like this. I need to find the inner strength to open up and share with people how I actually feel. And when I do that, the people that truly care for me and the people that truly love me, they're going to do everything they can to help me and support me to move forwards. And that's what I found, that being vulnerable is a superpower because as soon as I did that, my life started to change.
Yeah, and I believe that vulnerability is one of the greatest encouragements you can give anybody. When you know, C.S. Lewis, you know, shares friendship is born when you say, "Hey, you too, you've been through that too," and I'm sure you found out, holy cow, like half the people that I'm sharing this with are sharing. I go through this too, and how can we help each other?
Yeah, exactly.
What was another light bulb that came off? Vulnerability. What was another
Yeah,
light
it's,
bulb?
and that I'm enough. I don't have to prove anything to anyone,
I love that.
including myself. Including myself. I was figuratively and literally running away from I had no identity. I felt like I had no identity. I felt like I needed to do these big extreme things because this was my new life. This was my new livelihood as this endurance adventurer. I needed to do the next big extreme thing. And it was proving something to myself, proving to the world that I could do these big things. The reality is that I had a story already to tell. And I didn't have to do things extreme that was detrimental to me physically, mentally, and emotionally. It was that who I am right now is I am enough and I don't have to prove anything to anyone, first and foremost, myself. I just had to understand who I was. Yes, I wasn't a soccer player anymore, but it doesn't mean that I'm not anyone or I'm obsolete. It was just I had to stop and look within and understand who I am right now when I retired from being a soccer player. Now, for your listeners, that could be you could have got laid off at a job. You could have, whether you did it or the other person broke up in a relationship. Maybe it's just the end of a really busy week. You've got to be able to stop and go, where am I at in my life right now? Now, we could talk about big life-changing examples like losing your job, or it could just be, a Sunday afternoon after a big week. where am I at in life right now? What do I need to recharge, re-energize, and also go within to understand what I need to help me move forward? And that was one of the big things that I realized, that when I started to become vulnerable and on the outward, I also needed to understand what I needed for myself internally. And it was only when I stopped and looked within to go, I don't need to prove anything to myself because I am enough, but what do I need right now in my life to help me move forward in a direction I want to go?
Yeah, get to that. What is enough in your existence as, you know, as a human being here on earth? Like, what is enough? Like, how do you know you're enough? Like, how do you have peace with that? What helps you with that?
I look at this as having a life philosophy, knowing what it is, and whether it comes from a spiritual perspective, an emotional perspective, or just you as an individual, it doesn't matter. But
What you're saying is,
understanding,
what's your mission? What's your mission statement?
yeah,
Not
100%,
as a
100%.
figure, not as like, hey, we have to put this down and that's what we live, but something that you live and you be each day.
So when you get up in the morning, what is the fuel that gets you up to get you doing what it is that you do? Not what you do, what's the fuel that gets you moving forward? So for me, I'll start with an example of what my mission statement is, what my life philosophy is. It's to connect with others, learn daily, and share what life has taught me. So when I feel lost, when I feel like, oh, I don't really know what's going on, which is most days, I'm trying to figure it out like everyone else is, you know what I
Yep.
mean? So it's like, okay, how can I connect and develop my relationship with others? Well, I can't do that because I'm by myself at the moment. Okay, can I learn? Well, yeah, I can. I've got books and I've got podcasts and I've got all these different things that I can learn. Can I share with others what life has taught me? Right now, okay, I'm on this podcast. I am living my life philosophy, right? I'm I'm developing a relationship with you and with hopefully with your audience, okay? I'm sharing with others what life has taught me. So when you really want to break it down is, how am I going to spend my time, effort, energy, money, mental capacity each minute of every day? Well, if someone says, Luke, you should come and do this, whether it's a friend on the weekend to go to dinner, or it's a job opportunity or anything like that, does it align with my life philosophy? Develop relationships, learn daily, and share with others what life has taught me. Now, that sounds all very perfect and eloquent. It took me about 6 years to figure that out.
For sure.
But the journey to get there was all about, what is it that I want to do in life and what is going to fuel me to try and achieve that? So it's not what I do that's your life philosophy. It's what fuels you. And what fuels me, I'm going to say it one more time, is to develop relationships, learn daily, and share with others what life has taught me. And if I can do that for the majority or even most of my day, I'm not saying every second of every day, because I've got to do things that doesn't align with that, because that's life. But if I can connect with that life philosophy when I feel a bit down, or I feel a bit lost, or if I feel like nothing is going my way, I take a step back and can I connect with my life philosophy as my fuel to keep me moving forward.
Yeah, and look, I think everybody needs to do this. You know, pains me in my heart that every business in this nation has a mission statement, but that every human being doesn't have a mission statement. You know what I mean? That just shows you that the sanctity of life isn't being preserved in the truth that we are all created amazing. So, like, my mission is to energize and encourage the world so everybody knows they're amazing. Like, so I'm not done. Like, it's either I'm dying or every person in front of me is going to know they're amazing, that they're a gift, that their dignity and worth, and for me, comes from the creator, from God, and their dignity comes from the relationships that they have, that who they are. I love about what I want to encourage you on is, you came the most poignant thing, and especially in the European philosophy and the American philosophy, that your purpose came for who you were more than what you did. That 6-year journey. And that seems so simple. But let me tell you something. Most people live for what they do. And when they don't have my own, one of my family members took a company public, unbelievable business leader, but now they're old and they're like, what do I do the rest of my life? Like, why am I here? And they can't pick up a rock in the yard. You know what I mean? Like, so how do we get there? So it's tough. So thank you for sharing that. And this, because every guest on this show, they should be every day thinking about designing their life. It's not going to work out like you design it, but you should at least have some type of roadmap. Do you believe that? Like, how do you design your life on a daily basis, Luke?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. So, people look at long-term, short-term goals, medium-term goals. It's a case of, for me, is what do I want to achieve in like 10 years? Right? That's the big goal that I throw out there. That's sort of like that. I want to go in that direction over there. It's not specifically dead straight, but it's sort of in that direction. That's sort of like my 10-year goal. And then we can break that down. It's like, okay, where do I need to be in order, say, each year or each 2 years or each 3 years to get there, just as a bit of a waypoint. Now, I might get 3 or 4 years down the track and go in a completely different direction. That's okay. But I need some sort of direction to start with, some sort of target. But here's the really powerful thing that I have found in my own life and then with my clients who I work with and organizations who I do coaching programs with, is that auditing your time on a monthly, weekly, and daily basis is so powerful. And we think we don't waste as much time as what we really do until we actually stop and audit our time. So I will, every Sunday night, like I work for myself, granted, slightly different to majority of the people who work for someone else. However, at the same time as I have worked for other people and I work with people who work for other people. So I completely understand it. Now, here's the thing. You might know that you have life commitments, you'll have work commitments, and you'll have your own personal commitments, okay? So there's 3 different buckets: your own personal one, your life, and your professional commitments. And you might go, okay, this next month, I know I've got these 2 big projects at work that I'm working on. They're my focus for the next month. I know that I've got, one of my kids has got a birthday party. I'm going away for the weekend with my partner, and we've got friends coming over for a barbecue one other weekend. Okay, I know I've got these. And then my own personal one is, I want to go and play some sort of sport, or I want to go make sure I go to church every Sunday, or whatever it is. I'm trying to give random examples for your listeners here. So every month, this is what I'm ticking off. Some people do this by writing it down on their calendar, right? That's great. That's fantastic. They know what they're doing every month. But then what happens is we don't look at the micro. We don't look at the day-to-day. On a Sunday afternoon, this is what I ask people to do. Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, get a pen and paper, a journal, or a notes on your phone app and go, okay, what does my week look like? What do I need to do? So write a needs column. It can be every day. On Monday, I need to do this. On Tuesday, I need to do this. On Wednesday, so on, so on, so on. That is non-negotiable. That's what you need to do. It could be deliver a presentation at work. You need to do that. I'm prepared, ready to go. It could be simply Thursday night, I've got to take the trash out. I need to do that because if I don't, it's going to last a whole nother week and it's just not going to be very good around the house. So you have all these needs that you need to get done that week. And then you have a wants column. What do you want to do that week? So if you have a really productive day, what do you want to do that day or that week? That's an extra bonus for you to relax. It might be sit and watch the game on the weekend. It might just be read a book. It might be go for a walk. It might just be call up a friend. If I can get all this stuff done, I'm going to have time to do that. So it's not just focusing what you need to do, because then you get into that groundhog day of just doing this, doing this, doing this. Right. It's what are the wants that you want to achieve as well. So we look at the big picture to give us a direction in life. We have little way markers along the way. Where do we want to try and get to after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or whatever it is? And then we look at the month, and then we look at the week. So every Sunday, We look at, okay, what do I want to achieve this week, and break it down on a day-to-day basis. And that I have found has been really productive for me, and as well as the clients who I've worked with, from C-suite executives down to people who are just trying to move forward in their daily life. It's really looking at what you need to do on a daily basis, and then have those supplementary wants. And if you get through those needs, boom, you go and enjoy the wants.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, I'm sure you and I are similar. That when people, I just was out to breakfast yesterday, and the guy's like, "So when you were 19, what did you want to do with your life?" And I looked at him and go, "What I'm doing now." And they say, "Well, what did you go to school for?" I went to university as my plan B. And the guy was like flabbergasted. Like he was like, "No, really?" I go, "Yeah." Because I've been like this since I was 17 years old. Like I knew I wanted to speak across the world, and I knew I wanted to build workout facilities for kids so that it could transform their life. Because I believe through the physical you can get to the heart. That's where it happened with you. You started with something temporal, something that you could latch on to, that physical, and that's where you can push people. And it's not as personal either. Like when you're pushed. So, and then my goal is to build community centers where young people and families can meet. He's like, holy cow. Now, my point is this. How, when you're dealing with the mundane, which are most people in the world, you've dealt like that have like, they probably only have like 5 to 10 hours a week. Like, let's be real here. They probably have 5 to 10 hours tops a week with family commitments, with work commitments, that they can take control of for what you're talking about, your needs list. What do you tell them? I mean, I'm interested.
I don't know who originally said the quote, but it goes something like this. People overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. So that concept is, and it runs a line with something else that I always say to myself.
I like that.
Something else I always say to myself is, be aggressive daily, but patient long term. Now, that's the general concept. It sounds lovely. It's a great bumper sticker, right? It's a great motivational quote on social media. It's fantastic. Yeah. But what does it mean? Let's really unpack it. What it means is that if you want to change your life, right? You work a stereotypical, doing air quotes here for people who are listening. If you work a stereotypical 9 to 5 and you've only got a couple of hours a week that you can go and do that wants list, because your whole life is full of need commitments just to get by, month to month, week to week. Be patient long term, but aggressive daily. If you have half an hour to research,
be aggressive. You're saying be aggressive with that half an hour. I like this.
Yeah. Like delete apps on your phone that are taking up your time. If you are scrolling through your phone, then that's not being aggressive with that time. It might be half an hour that you can read a book about something you want to do. It might be half an hour about having a conversation with someone about, how do I change my career? All right. We waste a lot of time and we make excuses for ourselves. And my definition of excuses is simply this: a small justification to make ourselves feel better about what we do or don't do in each moment. So we can say, I was really tired, so I just gave myself a half an hour and just went on social media and had a bit of a look or watched TV. Well, if you truly want to change your life, then you're going to be doing everything possible you can to change it. That might mean 2 hours of studying, 2 hours of research a week, broken up into 4 half-an-hour slots. And it might take you 3, 4, 5, 10 years to change your life and get to where you want to go. But after 10 years, you've changed your life for the rest of your life. But some people can't just change it in an instant. It's going to take time. It's the ones who are aggressive daily and patient long term, who are just thinking about the long game and do the little bit day by day by day. They're the ones that actually make real change. And the other thing I want to say as well is we go right back to what we started with, the communities of people. Okay. I've had conversations with clients and they've wanted to change. They've wanted to do something different. And they're like, yeah, but my friends call me and they say, come over here for a barbecue, and they do this and they do that. And I say to them, you've got two options here. One, You have a grown-up conversation with these friends, family members, whoever, and say, look, for the next 6 months, for the next 3 months, for the next 12 months, I will call you when I have spare time to come and see you, because I'm working on a big project right now that is going to change my life. So the people that truly care and support you, they're going to be like, whoa, like they're serious about this.
How's it going? It's Justin Fatica, and I can tell you I'm so thankful for your encouraging messages and engagement and joining us for our videos that we hope are bringing you encouragement when you need it most. Now, before you go, I want to tell you about some exciting news. Since I was 19 years old, it's my dream to build facilities for kids. Well, that dream is happening. It's a place where young people and their families can relax, socialize, work out, be encouraged, that they can make a difference in somebody's life every day or have their lives be impacted. That's where we need you. We need you to ask yourself if you'd like to help us to break ground. You can be a part of this mission within less than 1 year. But if we don't have help, we can't do this. Now, I know right now there are a lot of people struggling, but we're just looking for pocket change, a rainy day fund, or to connect us with partners who can help make this dream a reality. We want every single kid and every single family to know they're amazing. And it starts with you. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content so we can keep you updated, so you can keep us going. And together, remember, we are making a lasting impact. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your support. And stay encouraged. And never forget, you were made for an amazing day. And it starts with what lives within you. You're amazing.
They're serious. We can't call them up and try and distract them and say, yeah, come over and watch the game on Friday night, when we know Friday night is the only night off they have, and they want to research, they want to educate themselves to change their life. Being able to say no to things, create those boundaries for your long-term future is really hard in the moment. But if you want to change, then you've got to have those grown-up conversations with people around you to say, hey, stop inviting me to stuff. I will call you when I have time. And when I come up for air in 3 months, when I'm going to have a bit of a break, then let's hang out, let's catch up. The other side to that is either have those grown-up conversations, or if you're surrounded by people and a community that aren't supportive of your bigger goal, of your dream, of what you are willing to do with your life, not theirs, your life. You've got to be able to create those boundaries with them to say, hey, I can't see you anymore because you're not supporting me. Or I can only see you for less amount of time every week, every month, because you're very negative towards me and it's not helping me move forward. Or you cut them out of your life because they're not the people that are going to help you move forward. And they're the two options when you're surrounded by people who are pulling you away from wanting to change your life. You've got to have those grown-up conversations, or you've got to create those boundaries.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky thing, though, as you know, because, like for you, like being a mental, with mental strength, right? Sometimes we're cutting people out of our lives that are helping us, right? But like we can't, if you know the Johari window, like we can't see that they're just challenging us to go to the next level, and that rubs us in a way that we don't want to deal with it, and we want to kind of go in a box and be on our own, but on our own isn't necessarily the good thing. And then on the other thing, there are people in our life that are negative, that are harmful. So how do you get people to distinguish who's who? Because I see, especially a lot of the young people I work with, they want all the people who agree with them to be around them. And then they want all the people that disagree with them to be away from them. Is that what you're talking about? Or how do people figure that out? No, I'm just saying that's what's going on right now.
Yeah, it's those people that tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear, are the ones that you want to be around. And I think to answer this question with something that your listeners can actually go away and think about is, it's how I deal with criticism. How I deal with criticism, I think, is a really good answer for this question is, how do you know the right type of people to have in your life? So if someone is saying something that makes you feel uncomfortable, right? Whether or not it's criticism, it just makes you feel uncomfortable. Ask yourself these 3 questions. do they know me personally? If they do, you can ask them, okay, so why are you being negative towards me thinking I want to change my life and do and go after this big goal? If you know them personally, they'll be able to articulate why they're being like that. And it could just be exactly like you said. They're challenging you to make sure you've thought this whole process out. So do they know you personally? If they do, then ask them, have a conversation with them. If they don't, if they're just like online haters or whatever phrase you want to use, they don't know you personally, so just disregard it. Second thing is there any truth in what they're saying? Now, this is probably the hardest thing to do. I've got documentaries, I've got books on the internet, I have a profile on there, and I've got a bunch of 0-star reviews and negative comments about some of the stuff I've done.
Yeah.
And some people look at it and they go, oh, that's not true. Oh, that's not right. You're not like that. And there's some of the negative comments I read. They don't know me personally, but I look at it and go, yeah, they're right. There is a part of that is 100% true. They've only seen a small slither of me and what I've done, but from what they've seen, I agree with part of what they've said. So do they know you personally? And then is there any truth in what they're saying? So if someone's speaking to you in a negative way or giving you criticism or saying something that's making you feel uncomfortable, are you able to be vulnerable with yourself and ask yourself, actually, is 1% of what they're saying true, 10%, 50%, 95% of saying what they're true? Because if it is, then that's a gift. That is a gift because they're opening your eyes up to a bigger picture. So do they know you personally? Is what someone is saying to you, is there any truth in it? And then finally, where is that negativity, criticism, or challenging thoughts, beliefs, and words coming from? Is it, if it's from your family, is it coming from a place of love? Maybe it's some random person online. Is it coming from jealousy? Is it coming from some other emotion? But where is it coming from? Do they want to try and drag you down? Or are these people want the best for you and trying to push you up? So where is that negativity, that uncomfortable words, conversations coming from? That's the third question you've got to ask yourself and even ask them. And when you're able to have this conversation with yourself, do they know me personally? Is there any truth in what they're saying? And where is the negativity, the criticism, or just the difficult conversations, or what you might deem as unsupportive behavior or language? Where is that coming from on top of the other two questions you ask yourself? Then you'll be able to understand the type of people that they are who are going to be next to you. So are they just people that are telling you what you need to know, not what you want to hear?
Yeah, no, I like that. And I think it's very challenging, especially with the social media culture, especially with the texting culture. We're not getting enough FaceTime. And I think that's something to challenge people. Like, you got to be able to look people in the eye. You got to be able to cry with people, laugh with people, struggle with people. Those are the relationships that are going to push you forward. The ones that you're crying because what they're saying does hurt and you've got to change. Or you're crying because you care about them, you're being empathetic or compassionate. Or you're laughing because you're enjoying what they're giving you and you're like, wow, this is great. Thanks so much. I appreciate this. We're not laughing enough. We're not crying enough. One of the principles of encouragement coaching for us is every day you have to find a way that you believe in something so much or someone so much that you feel for them and cry with them, or you believe in something so much that you feel that you have tears. The other thing is that you need to laugh. You need to enjoy your life so much that it brings so much joy that you're laughing, not at people, but with people, right? And then lastly, that we need people that believe in things, that are willing to die for what they believe in. Would you be willing to die for what you believe in? What's your thought on that?
That's a big statement. I don't
Well,
know. I
I
don't know.
come from an experience. I've had knives to my throat, literally, for what I believe in. For telling people they're amazing, for not for being negative, for being positive. Like people saying, look, if you don't change your life, you're gonna effing ruin your life. And they go out and they get a gun and they're like, I'm gonna kill you. You know what I mean? This is where the culture's at. I know you're like, no, it's not. Well, I'm not just talking about a gun or a knife. I'm also talking about with them wanting to give up because they don't want to be around an achiever. You've seen that. So when I ask the question, like, are you willing to die for it? Could be figuratively. It doesn't have to be physically. What's your thoughts on that?
I think this comes back to something that I create with my clients. It's called the why tree. Okay, why are you doing what you're doing? And if we think of a tree, we've got the leaves, we've got the branches, we've got the trunk, and we've got the roots underneath the ground. And it could be to stay alive. Like I've battled with my mental health. I've stood on bridges not wanting to live anymore as well. And I was very happy. I was very proud of myself of pulling myself back down from those bridges. So I've stood in the face of not wanting to be here anymore. And I'm very open with that part of my life. So knowing why that you want to keep living if someone's in that sort of real turmoil, or knowing why you want to achieve something in life, it's not just about knowing why on a superficial level. So they're like the leaves of the tree, right? There's loads of them. There's loads, and you can have so many like superficial whys. And I mean superficial, like the pure sense of the word on the surface. So the leaves are like the superficial whys. If someone says, why do you want to, run a marathon? The first thing that comes to your mind is, I love running, or I want the medal. Fantastic. It's a superficial why. It'll get you out the door occasionally for a run. No problem. But as the seasons go by, and when there's a big storm and it's windy, those leaves, a lot of the leaves on the tree will get blown off. So to use that running analogy, so if you've signed up to a marathon and it's pouring with rain, you're like, I don't need to run today. It doesn't matter. It's fine. They're the leaves that are gone. So we've got to understand there's got to be a deeper level of why we want to do what it is we want to do. That could be simply to stay alive. That could be to start a new business. That could be to connect with an old friend. Then we go down to the branches and the trunk. They're the structural whys. Now, most people will ask themselves these questions: why do I want to do what I want to do? And they'll get down to 1 or 2 levels. And then I'll say, well, when you get to those levels, why do you want to do that? And they're the trunks, they're the structure, they're the branches, they're the structural whys. And that's where most people stop, because they're like, yeah, this is a really, really strong why as to why I want to do this. But in a big storm, whether it's a lightning strike or a tornado or whatever, branches will fall off, the trunk will crack. But it's only if you truly understand what your deep-rooted whys are, they're the things that'll keep you strong, that'll keep you going when everything feels lost. It's not the superficial whys, like the leaves. They're important, right? Don't get me wrong. And we can have loads of them. It's not the trunks, it's not the branches, it's understanding what your deep-rooted whys are. You can have many, you can have multiple, or you can just have a couple. But when you ask yourself, why do I want to achieve this goal? Why do I want to survive? Why do I want to keep going and doing what I'm doing? Ask yourself again, why do I want to do that? And then why do I want to do that? And then why do I want to do that? And when it gets really uncomfortable, ask yourself one more time, yes, but why do I want to do that? What is the real reason behind this? And when you go deep inside, you'll understand your deep-rooted why. When you understand that deep-rooted why, like the roots of a tree, you've got to water it. So that could be through a supportive community. That could be through doing the things daily you need to do to achieve that, because that's where all the nutrients come into your life, through your deep-rooted whys, to then be able to help you withstand all the storms, metaphorical storms that come into your life, and able you to move forward. So picturing that why tree when you really, really are struggling. What are my superficial whys, like the leaves? What are my branches? What are the trunks? But really getting uncomfortable with yourself and going deep inside to understand what your deep-rooted whys are, and then take care of those. Create that supportive community. Do the things daily you need to do to enrich those roots, and make sure that you remember those deep-rooted whys when you're in the middle of that big storm that life will always hit you with at times.
Yeah. Just for me, like my deep rooted why is that everything that I do on this earth, you know, like who I am as a person lives for something greater than me, which could be a why, like helping people, right? That's greater than me. But even going to a step further, like for me, like, and was my struggle, like growing up, like I grew up like where I had a lot of good whys, like, like help people, like, I had a good family. So for family, but for me, it wasn't enough. Like there was like, and also I started realizing as people, and you probably have people, pass and die in life like that aren't here on Earth. I'm sure we've all had that. And I start seeing people start dying, right? And I'm like, holy cow! Like this life is so short, right? So like all those like superficial whys started being meaningless. Then even the tree wise started being we. And I'm going to even go a step further, which you might have never had anybody ask you this, but even the nutrients of like these goals of the achievements and the things I wanted to do for others even became dry, right? So on my heart, I had to say to myself, like, what's worth living for? What's worth dying for? And for me, it was only like eternity. It was only something like greater than this earth. We're here for such a short time. Like I know we think it's a long time, but when you look at like the human like reality, like we're here like this much, right? So like, how do you answer that question that you're here such a short time, Luke? Like, because I think people go through that struggle daily, like that they realize, like, look, like, especially as you get older, like, what does it really matter? So, how do you answer that question? Like, how is life worth it when life is so short?
Wow, that is a great question. How is life worth it when life is so short? I think I'll flip that around and rephrase it.
Go for it.
Life is worth it because it is so short.
Okay, great.
And one thing I always say to myself, and I say it jokingly, but I mean it in complete seriousness, is you can't take life too serious because no one gets out alive. So if you enjoy something in life, then do it as long as it doesn't hurt or harm anyone else. If you enjoy something in life, do it, even if it's completely different to what you normally do or people who are around you. Life is about enjoying yourself.
Yes, a
And
special
also,
occasion
yeah, it's a special occasion. And we talked right at the start and throughout, it's about that community, that interaction. It is about spending life with people. Now, whether you're from faith and this is just a journey to the next part of your life, or whether you don't view it in that way, I think we still live it the same. We connect with people
for sure.
and we enjoy ourselves. If we do that, we don't harm others. If we do that, we're all going to be enjoying life as much as possible. And helping one another is going to help other people enjoy their life. But also, as you know, when you help other people, it also nourishes your life because you're doing something for someone else in service, right?
For sure.
So I believe that it is about connecting with people, always trying to connect with new people, not just the same people. Okay. I've moved all around the world. I've lived on different continents. In the last 20 years, I've lived in 4 different countries on 3 continents, multiple cities. I've bounced around a lot. Now I've got some great friends in different cities all around the world who I speak with on a weekly basis. However, whenever I go to a new city or a new location, for whatever reason, it's almost like I'm starting from scratch because I've got to make new friends. Because as we talked about before, it's great having FaceTime chats or on WhatsApp or Skype or whatever. It's not the same as being face to face. And something I'm always challenged with, and something that I choose to do to move to other locations for various reasons, is I've got to find people who I can connect with face to face because I know the benefits to that. So if you're in the same location your whole life, that's great. But always try and connect with other people because you can learn from them. You can nourish your life by connecting with other people. And it might just be a case of You're nourishing your life because you're connecting with someone else, but you have no idea the impact that can make on someone else's life. So don't just go around going, I've got my tribe, I've got my community. That's it. Always try and connect with people throughout your entire life, because although it might only nourish your life a little bit in your eyes, what it might do for someone else, you probably can't even comprehend. And just always remember, it's about enjoying yourself, not at the expense of someone else, enjoying yourself each day and connecting with people continuously throughout your life.
Yeah, and one thing why I love being on our podcast, we get, I have so many different people on this podcast, right? And I'm just asking them the simple questions of life. Like the next question I'll get you to think about while I'm just finishing this up is how do you help people through suffering? Because I think it's one of the most important, so enjoying life, right? Like it's not enjoyable when a kid dies. It's your son or daughter, right? It's not enjoyable, like what you said earlier, when you lose a job, right? It's not enjoyable when you're only have 5 hours in your life to manage. That's your own time, right? It's a difficult thing. And those are little sufferings. There's big sufferings. But I think, how can we rejoice within our sufferings? And what helps you, Luke, to do that? Like not just the suffering that you put on yourself, that you make a mistake, but more things that you can't control.
Sometimes the best thing to do is just be. And I think in this world that we live in today, society pushes us to, if there's an issue, if there's suffering, if something's gone wrong, we have to do something to fix it. We have to do something to overcome it. We have to do something to move past it, to process it, to grieve it. Now, I'm not disagreeing with that. But there's a time and place. And I think a lot of the times, the best thing to do is just be. And when you're with someone that's suffering, or even if you're suffering yourself, like for me, my life, when I retired from a soccer player, I didn't be, I did everything. I was doing all the big crazy challenges. It took me 6.5, 7 years before I was able to stop and just be. And that's when my healing started. When I stopped doing and I started just being, slowed down, metaphorically and literally and physically. So when someone's suffering, when you're suffering, when something goes wrong, some adversity that chose you didn't choose to put yourself in a difficult situation. Life chose to give you this difficult situation. Just be. Just slow down, because I honestly believe we have all the tools that we need to move past any sort of adversity if we just stop and connect with ourselves. Stop trying to overcome things and just be for a moment. That moment could be literally a minute. That moment could be a week. That moment could be a month. That moment could be 3 months. But just be and connect with yourself and understand, what do I need? If you're with someone who's suffering, just be with them. And I had a conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago, and they're like, oh, my friend's parent passed away. I don't know what to say. And I said, don't say anything. Just be with them. Sit in silence. In the UK, what we do is we make a cup of tea. Make them a cup of tea, put it on the table, and just sit there. And that's it. May have a challenge for yourself. Don't say a word until you both finish the cup of tea. And even then, just say, do you want another one? But we're fixated with doing. Just being in any situation for a moment reveals so much more than a lot of the times initially doing will do.
Yeah, and one of my encouragement coaches, Ken Blanchard, who's one of the, you might know his name. He's written a lot of the inspirational books. He meets with me regularly. He helps me out a lot. And he says, don't be a human doer, be a human being, And
Same thing.
it's the same thing. And I think there's some truth to that, and for me, it's like no trial comes to us. This is what the Bible says is no trial comes to us, but what is human. God is faithful and he won't try you beyond your strength, but he'll provide a way out of your trial so you'll be able to bear it. And when my son was 3 years old, he learned that verse. And I really love that verse because it helps me to know that, like, look, these trials are just short, and you're living proof of that. It was a 6 to 7 year trial, but look at you overcame that, and look at where you're headed now. And how do you look at, like, because there are a lot of people. I mean, for me, this is just me. Like, there's a lot of people that don't make it through. Like, I mean, you see this. They didn't make it through like you made it through. Is that like, oh, you did that, Luke? Like, good job. Or is it like a mixture of that? Or like, how do you look at that? Like, oh, they could have done the same thing. How do you look at that?
Like when I grew up in a small country town in Australia. I wasn't, for my age and even a couple of years above and a couple of years below, I was nowhere near the best soccer player. I was nowhere near the best. All my friends, I actually have one friend right now who we've been friends since we're about 12, 13 years of age. And I saw him last year when I was in Australia and we talked about growing up, the good old days. And even he said, "You were rubbish growing up as a kid. You sucked." And you know what? I agreed. I wasn't the best or anything like that. But if you look at the dozen kids who are in and around my age group from my town who wanted to play soccer professionally, I was the only one that did. And it wasn't because I was the best. It was because I had clarity in what I wanted to achieve. I had the discipline to continually do what I needed to do, not what I wanted to do, what I needed to do each day to accomplish that. And also something that my mum installed in me, and my dad as well, he reinforced it, was that just because you work hard doesn't mean you're going to be successful. But if you don't work hard, you won't be. So working hard isn't a success for life. It's a prerequisite. If you want to be successful, if you want to achieve, if you want to make it through, then you've got to be willing to do the work. But that's a prerequisite. Being able to be present in as many moments as you can throughout the day and having clarity in what you're trying to achieve, that's what's going to help you move forward. Because if you can be present, then you can see what's going to help you or distract you. The true key to the true formula to success isn't hard work, isn't discipline, isn't curiosity, nothing like that. It's the ability to be present in as many moments as you can each day. Because if you're not present, you can't be curious. If you're not present, you're not going to work hard. You're going to get distracted. So having that ability to be present for as many moments as you can each day will allow you to see a bigger picture, but also to connect with yourself and understand, what do I need to do right now to help me move forward? Or if you've already put yourself in a situation that maybe isn't the right one you need to be in, being able to be present can help you to stop and go, whoa, this is not the environment I want to be in. Or I've been scrolling on my phone for 10 minutes now. I'm going to stop and not make it 11. I'm present and I'm going to pull back. And that's, I think, the true formula to success, is having that ability to be present in as many moments as you can each day.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And, I can't believe our time's almost done here, because I really enjoyed so much talking with you. And every guest gives me, that's one of my favorite things about life. I've never met somebody, even the guy, the kid who put a knife to my throat, I still have him in my life. Like, I've never met anybody that I don't like just love to be around. Like, and that's just what I'm about. I believe everyone should have that. You should always see the best in someone. It was very easy for me to see the best in you, Luke. But share with our guests, they might not know, and I know you don't like talking about yourself, but what's maybe a documentary or a book or something that they could look up to be like, wow, I'd love to check out Luke and what he's done.
Yeah, you can see all my crazy big adventures, like running down Mt Everest, running across the Sahara Desert, doing my 2,000 kilometer in 12-day ultimate triathlon from Morocco to Monaco, where I swum between Europe and Africa, and then cycled the whole length of the Spanish coastline and ran to Monaco. All my videos and things are on my YouTube channel at Luke Tyburski, but also the Ultimate Triathlon documentary is on Amazon. So it's literally called The Ultimate Triathlon. You can put that in and you'll see me. And my autobiography, which really goes into the life, the struggles I've been through and how I'm able to come out the other side, is called Chasing Extreme. And that's available everywhere. Amazon, Kindle, Audible as well. And if you do like listening to audiobooks, in between each chapter of Chasing Extreme, I gave some insight into what I was going through during that chapter with some reflection. So there's 3 or 4 hours of bonus material if you like listening to audiobooks as well. And it's just about my journey from a kid growing up in a small country town, wanting to play professional sports, and bounced around and had some challenges and did some big crazy challenges, and then, come out the other side of life, and here I am now today.
Well, Luke, it's great, and if you're a listener out there, check out all Luke Tyburski stuff, and make sure to know that have a cup of tea and just be. You know what I mean? Like, if I took it, just have a cup of tea and just be. That's what we're gonna make sure to do. But I'm very thankful for you, and I just hope all the best. Hope to have you on again at some point. And just as our journey, continues, let's be people in this world that, whether you have faith or you don't have faith, whether you think you have it all together or you don't have it all together at all, whether you're a person that believes different or you believe the same, what's most important in life is to encourage. What's most important in life is to see greatness in people, to see the goodness. We got to believe people to the right direction, not judge people into the right direction. And that's really, Luke, thank you so much. Thanks you for being authentic and being a part of my life. And check out, make sure to share this, great gift we had today with Luke. Share this with all of your friends and family and let them know that, guess what? Have a cup of tea and just be. All right. We like that. It's a gift.
Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate having on, and looking forward to connecting with your guests over time as well. If you've got any questions, just let me know.
For sure. Thanks so much, Luke.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Encouragement Conquers All podcast with Justin Fatica. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this episode with someone who needs a little encouragement. For more uplifting content, follow us on our social media pages. See you in the next episode.